When it comes to farming mutagen samples, Orokin Dialect is the way to go. It is simply better than all the other options, and as far as I know, most people do either survival or defense, and that's what I used to do as well. I would just build a survival key, I would do a 1-hour survival run, and I would get a couple of mutagen samples. After doing it 10 or 20 times though, it got a little bit boring, so I decided to try the other missions as well. I decided to focus my attention on Orokin Dialect capture because I've been playing the game for a couple of years now, so building 10 or 20 keys is not a big deal for me. I have more than enough resources to do that. And I mean, it's not like the keys are expensive. 5 nav coordinates, that's very easy to get because they drop from all containers in the game. 2,500 nanospores may seem like a lot, but you get more than that for each capture you do. Ferrite is also an easy resource to farm and you only need 750 of it, and 80 circuits isn't that big of a deal either. And the keys only take 1 minute to build, so you can build a bunch of them while being all tabbed, or you can just start building a key and run one mission, and by the time you're done with the mission, the key will be complete. Now, the reason why I decided to do capture rather than exterminate is because you have a lot of freedom in capture. All you have to do is capture the target, and then you can run around for as long as you want, and you just extract when you feel like it. And I must say I am impressed with the results. This is probably the best way of farming mutagen samples if you're going solo. I unfortunately don't have any numbers for running a really effective group in survival or defense, but for running this solo, it's definitely better than doing defense or survival. Now in total, I did 20 runs and I was using Necros Prime for Desecrate, and I was also using Ignis for its decent damage, area of effect, and punch through. So I can just run around, turn on Desecrate, and spray around my Ignis like a madman to break all the containers, kill a bunch of enemies, and also break all the resource nodes. However, some people prefer Telos Boltis over Ignis, especially if you have primed reach, because the spin attack has quite a bit of range and it can cut the enemies in half, giving you more loot from Desecrate. Now please bear in mind that I was running a booster, so I'm getting double resources here. Now as I've said already, I did 20 runs in total and it took me 1 hour, 21 minutes and 34 seconds, and this does include the countdown on the navigation and the initial loading screen for each mission. And in total, I got 695 endo, 148,936 nanospores, 176 mutagen samples, 16 neurodes, 30 Orokin cells, 106 Lefantes nav coordinates, 11 science stars, and 2 ember stars. So without a booster, there would be 74,468 nanospores, 88 mutagen samples, 8 neurodes, 15 Orokin cells, and 53 Lefantes nav coordinates. That's in my opinion pretty darn good, and it's definitely better than the results I was getting when I was doing solo survival and even solo defense. However, it does not scale with more people like survival and defense, where if you have more people you're gonna get more enemies, and I would actually say that it gets worse because as you add more and more people, they'll be spread around, so the resource drops will be all over the place and you probably won't be able to pick all of them up. So yeah, Orokin Dialect capture is actually pretty good for farming mutagen samples and also some Orokin cells, because I did get 30 Orokin cells with a booster as well. Now the reason why this is better than survival or defense for solo players is because in defense and survival you will break all the containers after a while, so all you have left is the enemies. And in capture, you will have a fresh set of containers and resource nodes every time you do the mission. And there's also a lot of corpus in the capture mission just scattered around the Derelict fighting the infestation, so there is a ton of enemies in each room and they like to clump up, so they're easy to AoE down. And those two things just make it really good for farming all kinds of resources. And before I end the video, I just want to give you a couple of tips if you want to do this. So tip number 1, I would just ignore the Juggernaut. In capture, he is scripted so that he appears once you capture the target, and since you are using an AoE weapon, you're just spraying it around, there's a pretty good chance you're gonna lure him out. Even if he doesn't straight up kill you, he's just gonna slow you down, and as far as I know, he doesn't really drop anything useful either. And I did kill him in the first couple of runs, but after that I just ignored him, ran past him, and eventually he just got lost in the Derelict. Tip number 2, I would also ignore the parkour rooms, because while they're really good in the void, in the Derelict they're missing like half the containers, so once again they're just gonna slow you down and you're not gonna get much from them. You may get like a mutagen sample or two, but most of the time you're not gonna get anything. Tip number 3 is explore. Don't just sprint over to the capture target and then straight to the extraction. Explore a little bit, go to the rooms that you have no business being in, because that's usually where you're gonna get most of your mutagen samples. And with that goes tip number 4. You can use one of the dragon keys, probably the one that decreases your shields, the one I can't remember the name of right now, because there's a pretty good chance that as you're exploring you will find a corrupted vault, and if you do, you will have a 1 in 4 chance to have the right key, and if you get a good mod like Heavy Caliber or Transient Fortitude, you can sell it for a little bit of platinum, or actually a lot of platinum if you have the endo to max it out. And finally, tip number 5, do Lefantes as well, because you're going to get more than enough Lefantes enough coordinates, and Lefantes is pretty good for farming mutagen samples as well. It takes more time than the capture mission, usually it will take you somewhere between 5 to 10 minutes depending on the strength of your weapon, but it's really good for farming resources because you're essentially killing 4 bosses. Each head in phase 1 has a separate drop table, and Lefantes has its own drop as well, and all 4 of these are classified as a boss, so they have a high chance of dropping either uncommon or rare resources. And that's pretty much it for the video, so I thank you very much for watching as always. I wish you good luck when farming mutagen samples, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.